Hello, Dr. Hedengren here. I'm here to welcome you back and to tell you a little bit about this assignment that I want you to do. This is the assignment that will be due in 2 weeks. So when you come back and meet with us on our very first day, I expect you to have this assignment in hand. So if you have any questions, please come to my office hours or email me, try to be in contact, even though we won't be able to see each other for the next 2 weeks. So that means when you show up, second week of September, you're going to have this assignment done. So first let me tell you a little bit about where to find this assignment. So if you're on Blackboard, here we are. It's in the Value and Culture unit right here. So the way that you'll find this unit is you'll go to Content and Value and Culture. This is where you have the Hurricane Harvey makeup work, where you saw the first video, did the readings, you took the quiz down here, submitted it, had a good time. So this is your next assignment, is the About Me assignment. And there's 2 files that you can download as just doc files. The first one is the assignment, and this one up here is an example. So I've given you an example that I've used myself. This kind of an assignment is something that you'll actually find yourself using in real life. I had to write this example that I made for you because I was teaching first year composition. And in teaching first year composition, they wanted us to have like a little bio so that students could get to know us better. So I made this bio. It goes in the course packet that all of the freshmen have. So when I made it, I had to think about who I was as a teacher of first year composition, because that's who my audience was. And so anytime you write an about me, you always want to think about who you are in context of your audience. There's a lot of things that I could have put in this bio. I could have talked about my research. I could have talked about my business class. There's a lot of stuff that I could have gone into. But I knew that if my audience was freshmen, they wanted to hear about what I was like as a freshman teacher. So you can see here, I wrote that I've been teaching writing. It's now more like 10 years. Her first year writing classes focus on writing in the disciplines, which means that most of her students complete projects related to their majors. Many students use their final projects in other situations. So I talk about like how I fit into teaching first year composition. Included a little picture of myself. So the first part of what you're going to be doing for this project is just writing the bio. When you download the assignment, it will look something like this. It will give you some tips. And this is what all of our assignments are going to look like. They're going to have a section that will tell you what the assignment is, what the rules are, how many points it's worth, how I'm going to grade it. So it gives you all of the details, including some little tips and tricks. So I only want you to write 50 words and have a photograph. Ideally, something you can use for a real audience. Information about who you are and what your expertise is. So again, this is not a general document. I don't want you to write this document to me. I am not your audience for this, okay? Your audience should be a potential employer, people who might read on your website, if you have your own company or you want to have your own company, a bio that could go into something for clients. So in my case, I was thinking about those freshmen, what would they be interested about the way that I teach my class here? So that's the number one thing. And you're going to be talking about that in part 2. So part 1, you just include the document, the actual thing itself, as it would be in your bio. Part 2 is much longer. Instead of 50 words, it's 200 words. And you're going to talk about who is the audience, why did you make the choices you made, and how would you change it for a different audience. So let me show you again with the example what I've done. I explained here. I was asked to write this bio for the freshman course pack. They asked me to, quote, make the bios friendly, put a personality with the name so students can have a sense of what to expect from our classes. I chose to include a picture that shows my face clearly with a smile but neutral outfit. So you can talk about your picture. You probably should. So I wouldn't choose a zany picture, and that's what I say here. If this picture had been for Facebook, I would have shown myself doing something fun, like sitting on a camel or dancing. But no, it's a professional picture because it's for a professional document, right? I also talk about what I chose to emphasize. I chose to talk about teaching. I described my class and wanted them to know that we're serious. I chose to call myself doctor. So all these things are these choices that I made. You can see it's not very long. It's about 1 page, 4 paragraphs. 1 paragraph for your bio, 2 or 3 paragraphs for this second part here. I want you to have this information, who you are, and it's due the day on this list. So only 20 points, so not too long. Let me talk to you a little bit about the process of this. You don't want, hold on, let me let the dog out. There you go, boy. You don't want to just sit down and write the first thing that comes into your brain. When you're working on your author's bio, brainstorming is really important. And by brainstorming, I mean you need to come up with a lot of ideas of who you are. You might feel like you're just a student, you don't have a lot of experience maybe, and you don't know how to write about yourself. I'm going to show you a website that's a good place to start. So this is PeggyKlaus.com. She's a consultant, and she wrote this book called Brag, The Art of Tooting Your Own Horn Without Blowing It. And if you're like me, you often think that people who brag are bad people. They're selfish. They think they're better than the people around them. Things like that. But she said that actually you need to practice bragging and talking about yourself. This author's bio is one way for you to talk about who you are to potential clients or employees. Versions of what you write in this About Me can go into a job interview, it can go into a cover letter. It's going to be a very useful document. So how can we start it? She has a list of 12 questions for college students that you can download from this website. And it's kind of like, they're kind of cheesy a little bit, but it's worth thinking about. So things like, what would other people say are the best things about you? What are the 5 most interesting things you have done? What is your strongest ability? What do you love about your life? What are you proud of accomplishing? What skills have you learned? What difficulties have you overcome? So as you go through these, you'll see a lot of them. They're kind of emotional, a little bit hippy-dippy. How are you making a difference? Like, it may feel like, I don't know, just like a little bit soft of an exercise, but it's going to start you brainstorming. So come up with a bunch of ideas of what your accomplishments are. Then, once you've done that, you can start writing a little bit about who you are. Remember, whatever your story is, make it memorable, entertaining, and make the listener eager to listen. So this brag-a-log is eventually going to become your 50-word author's bio. So just, 10 seconds to 1 minute, just a little bit of information about you. Then set aside a little bit of time and practice it. Practice saying it over and over again. So what you have here in your author's bio, this is a written version of it. It's one that you've practiced, you've gotten the words smooth. Every single word that you use in this author's bio is exactly the word that you want. It is putting your best self forward. You may want to include a little story or a little fact about you. One of the brag-a-logs that Peggy Klaus talks about is somebody who was a researcher for a pharmaceutical company who started out by saying, oh yeah, I was that kid who always blew up the science kit with the chemistry experiments. And now I get to be a researcher for this major pharmaceutical company. Just having that little bit of personal story really helps connect. So you can tell a story is a great way to do this. You can talk about 1 or 2 things that you're really proud of and go through that list that she gives you and practice some of those things. Do you want to talk about a trip that you had or an attribute that you have? That's what's going to go into your author's bio. And again, make it something that's relevant to your audience. If you're writing this for a dating site, it's going to be different than if you're writing it for a professional document. I had a really great one from a student who was an instructor of a martial arts studio, and she talked about, how she got her black belt and how she loved working with young children in martial arts, about some of the competitions she's won. It was a really nice typed bio. Another one that I saw was for someone who's going to an accounting, and he talked about some of the accounting jobs that he had had, but also what his philosophy was about how accounting could make lives easier. All of this is great stuff to include in your author's bio. So this is what I expect you to bring. When we meet again, you should have this printed out. So, on paper, in your hand, ready to go when you show up in 2 weeks. Again, if you have questions about this, do not hesitate to email me. But I will expect you to have this paper ready when we meet. So when we meet in 2 weeks, I'm going to have a good sense of who you are. I'm going to have this graded, really fast for you. And we're going to move on to getting to know each other, because once you've got this about me, then we can start working in our groups. And when we meet, we're going to start right into that major research paper. So it's coming. This is going to be a good practice for you. Okay. Email me if you have any questions, and I'll see you soon.